Okay, morning everybody. So we at the end of Parshat, at the end of Sefer Bereshit, with Parshat Vayechi over here, and we always want to find out who the person teaching this is. So just to remind that the different pieces that we're teaching are based on people who sort of like live and teach in the thoughts of Rav Kook, and this put out by Beit Rav Kook, and different teachers from different streams of society in Israel. Now this is a very special person, Rav Shmuel Slotki. So you probably recognize his name. Rav Shmuel Slotki had two sons. First of all, he's very close friends with Rabbi Perez. He had two sons that on October 7th went down together to the south when they saw what was going on, and both of them were killed. They fought in Alumim. They stopped like a massacre happening in Alumim down south, and they found them, I think, like almost embracing at the end of the at the end of the battle there, and there's lots of footage of them going down and fighting, and so quite something to lose two sons on October 7th in such a heroic manner. There's stories in the one day in October, so that's also maybe where you heard it. So anything we have from Rav Shmuel Slotki is obviously very powerful. I met him at the evening that we did for all the heroes that Koren held. I met him there. It was like try to speak to him and just like it was gobsmacked, in his presence. But I know that him and Rav Perez have been in touch a lot and sort of like give each other mutual chizuk. So now that we're getting to the end of the saga with the brothers, quite appropriate, that he had these special sons that were brothers, to talk about that. The other thing I was thinking about as you get to the end of Sefer Bereshit is Sefer Bereshit, we've spoken about it a lot. The Netziv talks about the fact that Chazal call it Sefer Yesharim. There Michael's getting in. That Chazal call it Sefer Yesharim, the book of the upright, the book of the just, and the Netziv opens up there talking about the fact that it should have made, or basically what picking up from what Rashi says, that it made sense more for the Torah to begin in Sefer Shmot when the mitzvot began with Rosh Chodesh. That was the first mitzvah that we get as a nation. So start the Torah there. Why do we need to start the Torah at with Sefer Bereshit, which is just stories? And he says the famous dictum that Derech Eretz Kadma Torah, that before we can learn the halachot and the mitzvot of the Torah, we need to first learn the moral foundation of the Torah, because it doesn't matter what instruction God you give someone, if they don't have a moral compass with which to use those commands and those structures and that infrastructure, then it can be very dangerous. So therefore, the Netziv says that's why Hashem teaches us about Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and obviously Yosef and his sons, and all of them, because they were the Yesharim, they were the upright pillars that gave us the pillars to our moral structure and our moral clarity. And only after that can we then start talking about the mitzvot. He talks there about, which is interesting, what based on Rav Shmuel Slotki is going to talk about, but he says, in that generation, in the generation of the Beit HaMikdash, there were lots of tzaddikim, but it was still destroyed. And he said because they were tzaddikim, not yesharim, that they could have been upright in their pastness in terms of their keeping their mitzvot, but bein adam lechavero, and in terms of the morality, they were corrupt. They were throwing each other under the bus and and doing crazy things between each other. And because of that, the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. Compared to other times in history when the people have cared for each other and have expressed a powerful achdut, then in that generation, even when the people were evil, in the generation that they were evil, the achdut was mitkaber, was the thing that redeemed them. So I think about like the time that we're living in now, and Sarah looked at the phone last night and we see more precious soldiers that have been killed, and we way too used to it, and everyone's obviously a whole world in a tragedy. But we think about the moral. The other thing I was thinking about was this recent thing of this soldier that was in Brazil. Right? So, I don't know if you saw that article where this soldier was touring, or he was a soldier in the Israeli army, and now he's just touring for fun in I think in Brazil, and they want to come down and they're trying to prosecute him. So they gave him a chance to get out of the country before they prosecuted him for war crimes. Just a regular, nobody soldier, so to speak. And there's apparently a whole there's a whole movement. I think I don't know if it was Honest Reporting that was putting it out around this this despicable human being who's now promoting this whole thing to prosecute soldiers wherever they are in whatever country they are. Quite unbelievable. So I was thinking about it, like we learn a lot about who we are based on our enemies, or based on the way our enemies treat us. So what's this attack now on each and every single soldier? It's to say that that's where our strength is. That's where our power is as an army. It's not because the government comes and gives these massive instructions and orders. Really, it's because of the power of the people and the power of the miluimnikim and the reserves. There was this this is the latest Dan Senior podcast of Call Me Back, where they go through. He goes with Nadav Ayal. This is a news researcher and reporter, and he said that the talking about this like heroic operation that was just told about that happened in Syria, I think in September last year. And this crazy thing where we go into this Iranian base in Syria and take apart the whole place and get in and out without a casualty. It was like a phenomenal mission of the Shaldag. And he said the amazing thing that 50% of the soldiers that were there were reservists. Right? So, from the soldiers that were on the ground doing the fighting to the soldiers that were in Shesh Teisha and the elite units for like medical unit that does like on the ground rescue and refuah. And there you have he was talking about the fact that these doctors are going to be there in the unit, and the next couple of days they'll be back in like the regular hospitals, Soroka Hospital and Ichilov, treating patients. I mean, we actually there was an ENT that when we went to sing for soldiers a few months ago, we were sang for the 669 unit, and there was an ENT that all the guys, that Yair had spoken to about his kid just before. So there, this ENT was a captain in on the helicopter for the 669, and a few days later you'll listen to his voice message from Yair. So really, the point is that our people and our soldiers are made of heroes. You can see that from the attack, that this most recent attack on every single soldier. Say, whoever you are as an Israeli citizen, we're going to prosecute you, because that's where our power is. Our power is in our individuals and our people. And I think when we get to the end of Sefer Bereshit at a time like this, and we think about the Netziv's words that it's a Sefer of Yesharim, where we get our moral foundations, that's exactly where we can learn our moral foundations from the heroes that we've that we know about, the heroes that live among us, and the heroes that made the ultimate sacrifice. Those are our Yesharim. Those are our absolutely moral, courageous, and incredible heroes that we wish we didn't have to live in this generation. But this generation has revealed the level of morality and courage of our people. So I think that's something good to think about when we're going through the process of Bereshit, that in our modern times we get to see these same tzaddikim and yesharim. Okay, so Shmuel Slotki, as we said,
just say one thing. Liron, you mentioned that sort of our enemies we sometimes see ourselves through our enemies.
Yeah.
Fighters. What I found interesting was to see it from a sort of a more positive way, from seeing an outsider talking about us. I'm referring to Douglas Murray, and he was talking about how before October 7th he was very pessimistic about the future of the West, and what's inspired him since then is meeting with Israelis and seeing how the young Israelis have risen to the situation and have. Because you say become real heroes. It's the young people who are leading the struggle for us, and it's interesting to hear Douglas Murray, an outsider, pointing that out.
Absolutely. What they were saying in the beginning, everybody thought you were the TikTok generation.
Right.
It was just sitting in front of TV games and stuck to your smartphones. But when the call came, these like lions rose up, which is quite amazing. Okay, let's learn some of the piece over here. So this is Parshat Vayechi, and he calls it Yosef Madua Nikrat Tzaddik. So why is Yosef actually called a tzaddik? So we should learn this Lilu Nishmat of Rav Slotki's sons, and of course my special cousin Lauren joined us. It's like the first time in a long time. So Lilu Gabriel, Ruvain, then Eliezer, the Liora. We should have an Aliyah for his neshama. He was a very special tzaddik, and talk about Yosef's face that was always beautiful and glowing. We know that Gavi was renowned for that. So this will talk to his beauty as well. So okay. So kiyadua Yosef היינו הדמות היחידה בתנ"ך המכונה בפינו הצדיק. So as is known, Yosef is the only character in Tanakh that is coined, nicknamed the tzaddik. לא אברהם, לא יצחק ולא יעקב. אברהם, יצחק and Yaakov are not called tzaddikim. ואף לא אישיות תנ"כית אחרת מכונה כך. There's not one other personality in the Tanakh that's called a tzaddik. מדוע זכה דווקא יוסף לקרוא יוסף הצדיק? So what did Yosef do uniquely that made him tzaddik? So one option is because of his unique belief system, his unique emunah, his unique faith. אדם החווה בגיטות, נפילות, נטישה ושנאה, אך טבעי שאמונתו בבורא העולם עלולה להיחלש. Right? So if there's anybody who had an excuse to have a breach in his emunah, to have a bad emunah, Yosef had all the reasons in the world. Right? He was deceived. He was thrown down he fell, right, whether it be into the pit, into the jail. He was abandoned. He was hated. Right, thinking about his father not contacting him, his brothers not contacting him. He didn't know that they'd made up the story that he was dead. Right, he just felt deeply abandoned and hated. Right, so it's natural that his emunah would be weakened. But Yosef, who was deceived by so many, and especially his relatives closer to him than anybody, his father sent him out to his brothers. Right? Interesting. Right? So his father didn't take enough care to send him out to his brothers unprotected. His brothers then threw him into the pit. The wife of Potiphar himself, Sarah Mashkim, right? Sarah Mashkim says, the butler doesn't remember Yosef, he just forgets him. And he does so many good things for all these people, and they all literally throw him into the pit, throw him under the bus. Yosef continues his emunah and in the righteousness of his way, and he's not broken. Not only that, Yosef more than that, not just that he goes through all these things and his emunah remains intact, but he's outstanding amongst the characters of Tanakh, that the Hashem is always in his mouth. He's always talking about Hashem, right? He'll give us examples now. So Paro says, wow, I hear you can decipher dreams. And who does he talk about? He talks about Hashem being the one who will possibly answer him. When he's in the jail, when he's in Paro's house, in these places where it's very rare to be talking about the name of the creator of the world, Yosef does this without any concern or fear. Right? So whenever he solves the dreams, or whenever he does these tremendous acts of wonder, he always attributes it to Hashem every time, and he's uncompromising in his emunah, and that's a good reason to explain why he's a tzaddik. So now quotes Rav Kook, Maran HaRav Zatzal Spirit Advarav B'Lashon Zeh. He explains it like this: So this emotional, spiritual, internal power we already find in Yosef in an elevated way. Maran HaRav Zatzal saying he's got these emotional and spiritual powers that are very, very strong. Olam pnimi ashir. He's got a very strong internal world. That enables him to hold and protect onto his to hold him to protect his essence. וגם לאור לחצים ונסיבות חיים מאתגרים העלולים להביא לחושה אמונה, יוסף עומד בתומתו וממשיך לגדל שם שמיים. So what does Rav Kook say when he's talking about this כוח החוזק הנפשי הפנימי? He's saying that where does Yosef Tzidkut come over here? He's obviously got what psychologists later on will call an internal locus of control. That he defines his strength not by what happens to him, but by what he has within him. That doesn't matter what kind of pressures and environmental forces will act on him, no matter how challenging they are. He knows what his fundamental truths are, and he's built tremendous what Angela Duckworth will call grit, right? Grit and resilience. And because of that, nothing, whatever comes against him, his values are always stronger than that. Okay, so now we've got the first one is tzaddik is because he's got great emunah. Now we're going to move on to another option. Could be because of his tremendous strength to stand up against the immorality of the wife of Potiphar. למרות חיתותו המעמדית, למרות הסכנה הגדולה שהייתה בהימנעות, בוחר יוסף לשמור ערכיו המוסריים. So despite his lower status, his lower stature, there you've got this powerful wife of Potiphar compared to this lowly servant slave in a servant in her house. Despite the great sakana gdola, that the great danger in him refusing her, Yosef chooses to hold on to his moral values. Derech Beit Avram lasot tzedakah u'mishpat, just in the way of his grandfather. Avram to do tzedakah u'mishpat v'lo livgod b'ra'eu u've'elokav. So he keeps on the way of his great-grandfather Avram to do tzedakah u'mishpat. Right? We know that Avram is chosen because Avram does tzedakah u'mishpat. He's a righteous and moral person, and he doesn't deceive his fellow person or his God. So that's the other one, is that he's a tzaddik because nobody would be able to stand up to the luring of Aisha Potiphar and have that moral fortitude in the place of great desire, and he manages to do that. What if tzidikuto sheyosef boletet dafka b'zchut regishuto hanifla'a lezulat? Okay, so now he brings another thing we don't often talk about, is it's in the zchut of his wondrous sensitivity to the other, right, to another person. So he's sitting there in jail. Right? He's sitting in jail. He didn't do anything wrong, completely wrongly accused, and he's sitting in jail. But what does he do? It would make sense, be natural, that Yosef would be just completely overwhelmed by his troubles and constricted in his pain, completely closed off from the environment around him. But the Torah tells us how Yosef Tzaddik is so sensitive and aware of the butler and the baker, people with completely different worldview from him. It's not like he met them in the minyan at the jail every day. It's not like he was learning Daf Yomi with them, like in the American jails, right? Where they got like a full minyan of Daf Yomi learners. He didn't. These guys were butler and a baker serving Egyptian royalty. They're probably high on whatever crazy things are going on there. But Yosef reaches out to them to see if he can help them. They've got this huge pit between his worldview and their worldview. Like their faces, right? The way they appear are like whatever gross. I'm not sure zafim, but something not nice. So and instead of ignoring them and just try at least deal with his own struggles, Yosef takes great interest in their in their situation and in looking after them. Yosef, the one that initiates it, right? They don't come to him. He says to them, "Why are your faces bad today? Why do you look so bad? So it shows that he had tremendous emotional intelligence, and he cared for the other. So in relative to Yosef's situation, and all the reasons he had to be held within himself and to be internal, he goes out and he turns to these completely off the charts people and wants to see how they are. So that's an element of tzidkut, to know that you've got every reason in the world to be justified, to be within yourself, to hold yourself back, to be depressed, to be constrained, to be sad. And in that situation, not only does he not do that, but he reaches out to others to see how he can help them and make their plight lighter. Now he's about to twist, and we've got 3 minutes on the clock. He says, but perhaps Yosef HaTzadik is called such not because of his great emunah, or because of his social, emotional consideration, or the fact that he's able to stand up against seduction. Rather, it's because he's able to feel in a real sense a true responsibility to his brothers. Yosef לחיות שנים רבות במצרים לאחר שיצא מבית הכלא בלי להתגלות לאביו כדי לשמור על כבודם ומעמדם של אחיו כמו אביו. So he says over here, obviously there's so many different theories. Why didn't Yosef reach out to his brothers? Why didn't the brothers reach out to Yosef? And Rav Slotki over here is bringing the opinion that Yosef didn't want to embarrass the brothers in front of their father, so he kept shtum, he kept quiet while after he had gone out from the jail. I'm sure he had the power to find out what was going on with him, but he didn't want to suddenly appear to his father and embarrass his brothers. That's according to this narrative. And then at the end here in Parshat Vayechi, there's this strange thing where the brothers come in and say, your father commanded before he died to say, please overlook our sins, the sins of your brothers. Sorry, I read that line wrong. So he's saying even when they're all in Egypt together, when Yaakov is there and all the brothers are there, he doesn't go to Yaakov and say, well, come, I want to pull you aside. You've been here for a couple of years, but this is actually what happened to me. Your dear sons took me when you sent me out to the field, took me apart, stuck me in a pit. He didn't do that, right? Actually, I never thought about that much. But that's quite a powerful sentiment, that he really cared for his brothers in a way. He didn't smear them, to the point that they come and they make up this lie, according to most of the Mefarshim, that their father said, come, Yosef, please tell Yosef he shouldn't hurt you when I die. Calls out מתוך הבנה שכדי לשמור על כלל ישראל על האחדות לקיום בית יעקב הוא צריך להבליג. So all of this is because he has a deep understanding that in order to protect Am Yisrael and to hold them to the achdut that's needed for the existence of Beit Yaakov, hu tzarich lavlig, he has to sort of swallow it up and just take it up. He knows that even though the truth is that he could very well turn to his father and tell the truth, and that's the truth. Why shouldn't he get extra love and care from his father after everything that he's gone through? Why shouldn't, it's right. He's had to, be the big guy there. He's had to live on his own. He's had to feel stranded. And suddenly now let him get a bit of extra love from his father, even if it's at the expense of his brothers, because they really do deserve it. But he says, no, there's something bigger than his feelings. There's something bigger than than him maybe getting what he deserves, and that's Am Yisrael. Right? That's Achdut in Beit Yisrael, and the importance Achdut sometimes has to come in the way of truth. And if you listen to Rabbi Sachs on this week's Parsha, there's the podcast that comes out each week, but he talks about this beautiful midrash about Hashem is like there amongst the debate of the angels, and which one is stronger, truth or peace. And he talks about that to live as a human, there's inevitable conflict in life between morals, and that's where our humanity is to know how to choose between the different morals that we face. And when it comes to real life, not always can we hold truth and peace in the same space. And Judaism believes in peace over truth, and that's why there's two examples that he brings from the Chumash of white lies, right, which don't create like a substantive effect of anybody losing anything, but rather just sort of make things better. The one white lie is Hashem himself when Sarah is pregnant, and she says, how can my husband, my old husband, fall pregnant, and Hashem changes it when he retells Abraham to say, Sarah laughed. And then over here, this is the second example when the brothers of Yosef come and tell the sort of white lie about what their father said in order to try to protect themselves. And what do we see there? That Yosef is a great tzaddik because he's able to say the value of peace and unity and brotherhood is far more important than the value of making sure everybody knows all the facts, all the information, all the truth, because the truth can sometimes hurt in ways that can take apart. So sometimes we don't have to tell everything when it means that we can keep people together and hold them to the sense of achdut and achva. And Yaakov isn't missing anything going into his deathbed, without knowing that this is what the brothers did to Yosef. Him not having that information doesn't take anything away from him, and rather it builds the legacy of Am Yisrael, which is the first time that out of all the sons that we go through Bereshit, this is why Bereshit can finally end with the story of Yosef and his brothers, because we know what happens until now. Abraham has two sons, Yitzchak and Ishmael. Yitzchak is the chosen one, Ishmael gets kicked out. Yitzchak has two sons, Yaakov and Esav. Yaakov gets chosen, Esav gets kicked out. And there's always this fratricide, right? Starting from Cain and Abel, even before that, from Cain and Abel. And then only when it comes to Yaakov does he have his sons. And that's why many of the commentators say the whole story of Yosef actually happens, because the brothers see what happened with Yitzchak and Ishmael. They see what happened with Yaakov and Esav. So they say, okay, well, it's going to happen. Yosef got the Technicolor dream coat. You got the Ketone Pasim. He's the chosen one. We're all going to get pushed out. So let's push him out before. And then what happens is Yosef rises up to the challenge, and he says, "No, I'm not going to perpetuate that. Rather, I'm going to initiate achdut. I'm going to initiate shalom and ahava, and that's why Bereshit, the Sefer Yesharim, can come to a close." Let's just read his last words. It's a great lesson for all of us. How important it is for us to make an effort to walk in this way. To strengthen the brotherhood and the friendship and the closeness in Am Yisrael, because this is the secret of our existence. Wow. And obviously he doesn't mention here the power of his sons, who as brothers unite together to fight the greatest evil in the world. And there should be an aliyah for their neshamot as brothers. There was this crazy thing right before October 7th that was happening with brothers in Am Yisrael. When the whole judicial reform thing was going mad, there were lots of brothers being killed. Right? There was that pigua in what's called Hurua or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. There were a few very horrible piguim where there were brothers that were being injured or killed. It was like a sort of siman from Shemayim. Holly, camera's working. But please go. We ready?
Go ahead.
We learn how to unite in brotherhood and in love, and know that we may have very, very strong opinions, and they may even be right. But the rightness of our opinions is not more important than the unity of our brothers. Please God, we need some zchuyot and help from Shemayim, Siyata Dishmaya, to do this, and we need to make an effort from below. And please God, in the zchut of all the holy tzaddikim that we've seen pass in this year, including our precious Gabriel, who was exemplary in caring for others and loving others and bringing others together, that this should be the next chapter in Am Yisrael, should be written about how we were able to rise above our truths to serve a much greater truth, which is the truth of our deeper connection. There, or anybody got to want to reflect? Please go for it. Oh, lots to take in. Holly, now we can see
Amen.
what you have to say.
Lauren, it's just so great to actually see you as well. And I want to say that the picture of the Sefer Torah was absolutely stunning. It's such a beautiful tribute. I'm not sure if Liron shared with you, my daughter died also of she was sick with pulmonary hypertension, and she was 26. And the Sefer Torah was something that I really felt gave so much back to us and to raise her soul. So he should have Ilumim Nishmato as well, Gabriel. It's very beautiful.
Amen. Thank you. Yeah, Liron, to share your beautiful voice message with me. And
Lauren,
yeah,
give me your boss's number so we can get you here every week.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm thinking I must change my meeting time.
It's so amazing to have you to see you.
So special to be here.
And
Thank
Suzanne,
you.
thanks for joining. Nice to see you join. Good to see you, Mom, Michael, Shkoyach. And Rita, when you get to the recording, sorry we didn't let you in. We didn't get you in. Okay, everybody, have a Shabbat Shalom and lots of things to think about.
It's amazing.
Lovely to see you, Lord.
Okay,
Shabbat Shalom.
Great having you back, Liron.
bye. Thanks. Good to be back. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks.